hand. We do that a little different today, and we made it a lot easier, but our kids from Sunset offloaded that truck. It took them about 3.5 hours to unload that whole truck, all the stuff that was in that. So that's how I got to find out about disaster relief. I came back to Springfield. I decided to go down to Nashville and tour the facility. I wanted to duplicate that in Springfield, Missouri. Well, I went down, I toured the facility, and I talked to a gentleman named Joe Dudney. Joe Dudney was the executive director at the time, and he took me on a tour, showed me the warehouse, where all the stuff was at. Came back to his office and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "I think I can do it." And he said, "Do what?" And I said, "I want to duplicate this." And I remember him laughing at me, and I thought, "Man, you don't know me, because I can do this." And he said, "I have no doubt you're serious," but he said, "Let me show you why it won't work in Springfield like it does here." He took me back out into another section of the warehouse, and there was about 75 to 100 volunteers packing food boxes. And has anybody in here seen them pack food boxes in Nashville? We got a guy back in the back that has. Well, that's pretty impressive to watch that, because it happens, it just goes really quick, 1,500 food boxes in about 4 hours. And I looked at that and I thought, okay, and I went back in his office. He said, "Okay, now let me ask you a question." He said, "How many volunteers could you bring in if you had a warehouse in Springfield and you had all the supplies in there? How many volunteers could you bring in on a daily basis to do what we do?" And I stopped and I thought about that a minute, and I started counting on my hand. And he kind of laughed again. And I said, "Yeah, I've got about 6 people I can count on, ain't gonna work." So we decided we're gonna start supporting this effort, and that's what you all have done, and I wanna thank you all for your support. It's a wonderful organization. They do wonderful work. And we've been supporting that ever since 98, 99, when we got involved with it. Well, in 2007, I retired. I was with the Springfield Public Schools. I worked 29.5 years as maintenance and security facilitator for Springfield Public. I retired at 49. My wife said I was too young to quit work, so she got me another job, and I was working at a bank as maintenance and security, and I didn't like that really either, but I did that for about 4 years. And just happened that we talked to you this morning about Joe Bright. Joe Bright was a minister at Sunset. He came into the bank and asked me how I was doing. And I broke down. I said, "I'm not doing good at all, because this is not what I wanted to do with my retirement." He said, "You need to pray about it." Well, I'm going to tell you, God has a purpose for everybody. You just got to find it. You got to pray about it. You got to figure out what it is. About 3 weeks into that, I got a phone call from Chuck Evans, who was the associate director for the area that we live in now. And for this area, matter of fact, I don't know if he ever came here or not, but Chuck Evans used to be the associate director for this area. He called me up and he said, "Hey," he said, "you're up." And I said, "I'm up for what?" He said, "You're the next associate director." And I said, "Not me." And he said, "Yep." So I ended up going to Nashville, took my wife. We went down, and I understood I was going down to interview with several other people. When I got there, I found out there wasn't any other people. It was just me. And there wasn't no interviewing. The board of directors had already decided I was it. I was shocked. Next thing I know, I'm associate director for this area. That was on a Saturday morning. I think that was in May of 2011. Sunday morning, I got up and went to church with Joe Dudney, and went to church, had lunch with him. I'm driving home. And we're about halfway home, and I get a phone call from Joe, and he said, "Hey, I need you to be in Joplin, Missouri in the morning." And I'm thinking, why? And he said, you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to watch TV and listen to the news, because they've had a tornado. Well, that next day, that was the big Joplin tornado. That was my first major disaster as an associate director. So I got in, and I got baptized into this really quick. But it's been quite an experience for me and my wife. I travel very extensively all over the U.S. I have the center part of the United States, and that's where I go and speak. but that's not where they've been sending me to disasters. They send me to Florida, they send me to Iowa, anywhere, Idaho for wildfires. I've been everywhere. So I get to go to a lot of places, work a lot of disasters. Well, there were some pamphlets back at the back. This first one that I wanted to talk about talks about what we do, and it shows our financials where we're sending supplies. Right now, today, in my area, we're working mainly in Kentucky and Arkansas. Louisiana's used to be my area. We're still working in Louisiana, and I just got back last week from Louisiana, taking beds and stuff to them. But mainly Arkansas, at Truman, Arkansas, we had a tornado, and then in Mayfield, Kentucky, Benton, Kentucky, Princeton, Kentucky, Clay City, Frenchburg, Jackson, all those places that had either flooding or had a tornado, we're still sending supplies there. Most of you know that what happens with the money that comes into Nashville, they take that money. For every dollar that we receive in Nashville, we can turn that dollar into $3 to $4 of buying supplies, or buying power to buy supplies. Our warehouse, it's 86,000 square feet warehouse. It's totally stocked with supplies at all times. We keep those supplies coming in. We have anywhere from 8 to 10 semi-loads already staged and ready to put on a semi to go out at any given time. They pack food boxes, personal care boxes, infant boxes, and cleaning buckets. That's the 4 major components that they do in Nashville. A food box will feed a family of 4 for about a week. The personal care will take care of a family of 4. The cleaning bucket will have everything in it from cleaning supplies to flashlight and batteries. It's a 3.5 gallon bucket. That's packed full. And then we follow up with that. We have bottled water, bulk cleaning supplies, laundry detergent, bleach, wheelbarrows, rakes, shovels, brooms, mops, clothing. All that goes onto a semi. That's what comes out to the first truckload that comes to a church. That's what's basically on that truck. After that truck comes here, and after we offload it here, it becomes your guys' responsibility here to give that out to the community and to interview, talk to people, find out their needs. We have forms that you can get that come on the truck with it. You can use those forms. You can use your own forms. We don't do any of the I'll come and help you get started if you need help, but it's up to the church to do this. It's under your eldership. You all make the decisions. When you interview people, you have an option to, if they are low income or they didn't have insurance, you can help them with 1 room of furniture and 1 major appliance. That is what we're doing now in Kentucky. I'm shipping furniture and appliances every other day. I'm shipping something down there. The person at the church will contact me and say, this is what I need. This is what they'll need: washers, dryers, refrigerators, stoves, microwaves, hot water heaters. That's what I ship them. That's the major appliances. Furniture, we do a master bedroom, we do a kid's room, we do a dining room, and a living room. So whenever you order, it depends on what you order. I'll match that up with mattresses for the bedroom furniture. You can get king bed, queen bed, full bed, twin beds, whatever size bed you need. There's a lot to it, but all you guys do is find out the needs of the people, contact us, we'll fill the order, ship that to you, you give that out to the individuals. What that does, people don't understand this, but the seed that you're planting when you do that, it may not bloom for a year or 2 years or 10 years, but you've planted the seed. We have people that come back and say, 10 years later, we would have never made it if it had not been for your church. and they wonder why we do what we do, because they'll say, I'm not a member of your church. I wasn't a member at the time or whatever. That's what it's all about, is helping your neighbors. This is an opportunity where you have that most churches would not have if it wasn't for this organization to help you do that. I want to show a very short video. It's going to show the Operation Center in Nashville. It's going to show some of the disasters that we've worked. There's going to be some pretty graphic disasters in this, but this will give you an idea of how it works. The people in Nashville, the volunteers, you know, the gentleman that's going to do the narration on this is Mike Lewis. He is now our associate, or he's our executive director. He'll be the narrator for it. Just take a look at the video. Did you get it where you're ready to show that? And then afterwards, I'll talk a little bit more and I'll answer any questions that you have. I'll let them work on that a minute. Maybe they'll get it going and I'll stop again. The blue brochure that I brought, if you picked up one of those, talks about our history. It talks about when we got started in 1990, well actually 94, when we incorporated. It also talks about our volunteers. This organization wouldn't exist if it wasn't for our volunteers. I've got friends that work for different organizations, and I've had one of my friends talk to me great lengths about the fact that we give back up anywhere from 85% and up back to victims that have these disasters. And they tell me that's not possible. And I said, well, you know, that's what we do. And he said, well, he does this with an organization. He says he doesn't think we can do that. And I told him, I said, well, the difference is the volunteers. We do not pay people to come into our warehouse like you do to get this stuff done. We do it with volunteers. That makes a big difference. So we're very thankful for our volunteers.
We're just now beginning to assess the loss of structures and the general conditions.
Did you get it going? Thought I heard it.
So out there,
caused the Chimney 2 fire to descend on surrounding towns.
Now the Churches of Christ disaster relief effort is standing by, ready to send a truckload of equipment and supplies to those in need over in East Tennessee. And I mean mobilized, because they can be there within about 4 hours. They said they can have this truck packed and ready to go within the hour and on its way out to East Tennessee. So right here, they have cleaner with bleach, cleaning buckets, and these boxes are filled with food that can feed 300 families. We've got brooms, we've got wheelbarrows, everything that they would need potentially out there to at least start to rebuild.
We're here this morning to load 1,300 food boxes at Churches of Christ disaster relief effort. Our purpose is to follow the example given to us in Acts 11, where it talks about disaster relief in the first century and about the famine and all the food being given by the brothers and sisters. That's what we're trying to do here.
Whether it's a flood, a tornado, a hurricane, an earthquake, or a wildfire, when disaster strikes in the continental United States, the Churches of Christ disaster relief effort is ready to respond. Truckloads of emergency food, water, and other supplies are sent to congregations for distribution to victims in the disaster areas.
I don't know how you go on. I mean, I'm sure you will, but I mean, look at this. I mean, there's not a wall.
So many struggling to try and pick up the pieces.
When you see the school, you know, just by looking at this building, there are victims inside that school.
Our facility here in Nashville at 410 Allied Drive, we have a little over 86,000 square feet of warehouse. Because of the contracts that we have with the many vendors that we buy from, we can stretch the donation dollar. We can buy, for every dollar that we receive, 3 to 4 times what you would buy at retail prices. This makes us very efficient in what we're sending out.
This is one of our food lockers, 3,000 square feet. It keeps our Hungry Man TV dinners inside here, and we ship these out in the latter stages of our assistance of the disaster victims. Once they're back in their homes and have a refrigerator and everything to store them, then they can use them and heat them up and eat them as they see fit.
We have approximately 200 to 300 volunteers here today. Before we're loading food boxes, we call over 600 people in the Nashville area, and with a 1 or 2 day notice, 300 or more will show up. That's what makes us successful, is our volunteers to do anything we need. Even our truck drivers are volunteers.
Well, help is on the way from Nashville to Florida residents still struggling in the wake of Hurricane Hermine. The Churches of Christ Disaster Relief Group has a truck on the road right now and is heading from Nashville to Perry, Florida. Help is on the way in the form of an 18-wheeler loaded with supplies.
In the tornado area, they don't need the bleach, but in a flooding area, they need the bleach to kill mold.
There is breaking news in an unfolding tragedy in West Virginia. At least 20 people are now confirmed dead in a catastrophic flood disaster, the worst in 100 years.
These boxes and this relief stuff, because we were able to get it so quick, we were able to become a center for distribution in our community. I appreciate Disaster Relief's role in that, helping us to be able to do that. It's overwhelming.
We have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of supplies, prepackaged, ready to send out to a local congregation to turn over to your leadership so that you can help your neighbors that have been devastated by the disaster. We don't send the people. We leave the work up to your local congregation.
The winds have really picked up here on Long Island. The rain is pelting us. This is the same storm system that caused those deadly tornadoes down south, and it's already proving deadly for this part of the country as well. High winds tonight battering the East Coast. A fast-moving nor'easter whipping gusts of up to 60 miles per hour, toppling streetlights in New Jersey, flinging trees into homes.
It brings to mind one congregation in Bayshore, New York, the Long Island Church of Christ. They had requests for over 100 Bible studies. That's what this is all about. It's another tool for the local church to reach out to the lost. Some people are most receptive to the gospel when they're down and out. This is one of those times.
It was a large tornado that tore through New Orleans east, destroying several homes.
That's when the roof went flying. And
Cheryl McBride took cover in the bathtub.
So as I got in, stooped down, the roof came off, things started flying. I just asked Jesus to cover me, don't let me get hurt. And the next thing you know, here we are.
The tornado left a trail of destruction, ripping off roofs, toppling trees, and downing power lines.
You don't have to pass the hat to collect your money first. We've got the supplies ready for you. All you need to do is get in touch with us. Let us send them to your congregation. You go to work and save the lost.
5 men located throughout the United States are available to share the mission and purpose of the Churches of Christ disaster relief effort. Dwane Castell serves the northeastern part of the country. Ken Lowry is available for service in the southeast. Dennis McClintock provides information to the central states. Ken Leonard serves the south central part of the country. And Dale Lengy provides information to those in the west and northwest.
I'm Miguel Almaguer in Southern California, where the strongest storm to pummel this region in years brought record rainfall, mudslides, and a flood of water rescues.
Tonight, the destruction in Mississippi is overwhelming.
You could hear like glass shattering. You could hear the roof caving. I feel like I'm lucky, I'm blessed to be alive.
In 2 days, the path of destruction spreading over 550 miles.
And I thought we were gonna die last night.
Including through Polk County, Tennessee, where Jennifer Young, her husband, and 2 sons barely escaped.
I screamed at my husband saying, there's a tornado coming, there's a tornado coming. Get the kids, grab the kids.
Wind just came out of nowhere and just blew it.
17,000 acres here burned. Jerry Morgan lost all her mother's keepsakes, including photos, treasures that took on extra meaning after her mom died recently from cancer.
All of her china, all of her silverware. Everything's gone.
Well, that gives you just a glimpse of Nashville and how it all comes together and how it gets to you all. I was talking about the blue brochure here, and it talks about our cost effectiveness, who receives aid, what other people say. This one will actually have the most recent associate directors. We've lost Ken Leonard, he is retired, but we have Brian Spicer down south now. He's in Louisiana and takes care of the south portion. Dale Lengy out on the coast, west coast. I'll tell you, all the disasters I have worked and the people that I've got to meet and the stories that I get to hear from these people, whenever, has anybody in here been in a disaster, a tornado, or what was you in? Tornado? No, we had a flood. Until you've experienced this, it's hard to wrap your mind around what's going on through all these people with what they're dealing with. In 2000, I think it was 2013, Moore, Oklahoma, I got to experience that for myself firsthand. Whenever I was working with Moore, I had been there, I was there right after the tornado, but I had to come back home that week because we had a church camp out that I was kind of in charge of. So I came back and dealt with the camp out, But I actually took my trailer back with me to Moore and set it on the church parking lot, and I was down there working the next week. And that's when that second wave went through. It actually killed the storm chasers. But it was worse. It wasn't worse, but it was bad as the first one. But I'm very intrigued with tornadoes and stuff. I wanted to see it firsthand. And a gentleman told me, he said, well, it's going to go just north of us. And I said, is there any chance? He said, well, you get out and look up over the interstate up there, you might be able to see it. Well, I went out and I climbed up on top of my trailer, and I'm up there with my iPad, and I'm taking video, and I'm pretty impressed because I can see the cloud, I can see the bank, but I can't see the tornado. And my phone rang, and it was my wife. She wanted to know where I was at, and I said, I'm in Moore, Oklahoma, no, where exactly are you? And I said, I'm at the church. She said, are you in the building? And I said, no. She said, where are you at? And I said, I'm on top of my trailer. She's telling me I need to get into the church because she's watching it on TV. And there's some pretty graphic pictures on TV she's seen. It's coming right for Moore. She said, it's going to come right through Moore, Oklahoma. I said, yeah, but it's north of me. I'm good. I know tornadoes move northeast. Well, this one was moving southeast. It was off track. I don't know why it was doing that, but she's still talking to me on the phone, telling me I need to get off the trailer. I keep looking at this, and I'm thinking, it may be getting closer to me. Sure enough, it was. Well, I'm trying to get off my trailer, and I got down. I just barely got on the ground when debris started coming down around me. I'm going across the parking lot. My iPad is still running. It's still videoing. And it's like deer, you get the picture of the deer in the headlights or whatever, and the deer stops. So I stopped. There's a 14-foot trailer going across our parking lot, and it's about, I don't know, 5-6 feet off the ground, and it's just floating through the air. And I got that on video. I was pretty impressed with that, but I'm still trying to get into the building. Guys are hollering at me, get in the building, get in the building. So I get in the building. We pull the door to, and the door starts shaking. Well, we got it latched, got the door shut. We've got all these kids in the building because we had teens in there. We had a bunch of kids that were doing cleanup. We had to get them down in the bathroom. And while we're doing that, we hear glass breaking. We hear all kinds of noise. I'm thinking, man, the building's coming down on us, and we're getting everybody in the building. 30 seconds, it's over. And when I come out in the hall, all these people were coming down the hall, and I think, where'd these people come from? Well, they actually broke the front doors out at the Moore Church of Christ to get in the building away from this off the interstate. And they had come to get refuge in the building. So we called 911. They sent fire rescue out. We were checking, make sure everybody's okay. Policeman come inside and he said, whose trailer is that out there in the middle of the street? And I go, well, first of all, before that ever happened, I went around to look at my trailer. And I went through the kitchen and I shined my light out the back door, and I could see my trailer out there, I thought, but it's black and it's raining cats and dogs. Well, a kid came in the back door, about knocked me down. I'm going to tell y'all, when you start asking me questions, I'm very hard hearing. So be patient with me. I'll get to you and we'll figure this out. But this kid's talking 90 miles an hour and I can't understand a word he's saying. I got him to calm down. I looked out, came back in. I said, okay, now what's going on? He said, that trailer out on your lot. He said, one of them buckets, those cleaning buckets, had went up underneath his car. He got out to pull it out, and he said, I got back in my car and strapped my seatbelt, and he said that trailer came over on top of my car, smashed my car, and rolled over in the street. And I said, what trailer? And he said, the one that's in your parking lot out here. I went back out and looked. My wheel's sticking straight up in the air. So that was my trailer upside down. I don't have time to mess with that right now. I come back in, and I'm trying to check on people. And then that's when the police officer came in wanting to know whose trailer it was, and I said, it's mine. He said, well, you might want to go out there and tell the fire department there's nobody in it because they're breaking all the windows out, searching it. Well, all they had to do is open the door. It was upside down, but open the door and climb in, but they took all the windows out of that thing. So I had water going through it and everything. It was a mess. I called my wife, and I said, I couldn't get her at first. The phones wasn't working. But I'm panicked because I don't have my medicine, I don't have my clothes, I've got what I got on. So anyway, I went ahead and took pictures of it, and I put it on Facebook. And pretty soon she got through to me, and I told her what had happened. And long story, but I've been trying to sell that trailer for 6-8 months so I could go buy a new fifth wheel, because I wanted to go to a fifth wheel. I told her, I said, when I get home, I'm going to Kansas City. I'm buying that fifth wheel from Steve and Renee. She said, I told you, you're not going to buy that till you sell your trailer. And I said, I sold it tonight. She wanted to know who had bought it. I said, the insurance company. And she did not get it for a long time. I had to explain that, but they wasn't putting anybody in it. But anyway, I tell her, I said, I don't got no clothes. What am I going to do? She said, you're trained. She said, you got a Walmart? Go to Walmart. You can get your medicine, you can get you some new clothes, you're good. The next day, that's what I ended up doing. Everything worked out fine. But that really gave me a sense, but a very small sense, because that trailer wasn't anything. But people's home, their cars, their jobs, the things they lose when they're devastated. I mean, it's just, I don't know how people get through that. I had a hard time getting through my trailer, but I was pretty tickled because I was getting a new trailer out of the deal. But most people don't get a new home out of the deal, or they don't get a new car, if they don't have insurance. There's just a lot of things that happen. So this is an opportunity for us as Christians to go out and help these people. One thing I want to tell you is, if you ever have to do this, you're going to learn real quick. You've got to sit there and you got to listen to them tell the story, because they have to vocalize what's happened to them. I had to do that, and I didn't even have very much happen to me, but I had to vocalize what happened, because that was quite a sight. You don't see a trailer floating across the air very often. But that's a little more information, but I want to ask if anybody has any questions about disaster relief that I've not covered that you're interested in. One of the questions I'll answer real quick: yes, we need volunteers. Yes, we need truck drivers, because our truck drivers have been around a long time and they're dwindling, and we're looking for new truck drivers. But in saying that, you need to be in the area of Nashville to be able to do that. We actually had a guy from California fly in to Nashville to drive a truck to California and bring it back, and he flew back to California. But he was a truck driver, and that's how we got our trucks out to California, was through that guy. Yes. middle school. We got to the middle school, and I've never seen such a mess. They had so much food, clothing, and the sad part about the clothing is most of that clothing that they get donated is stuff that we try to get rid of. You know, I'm not gonna wear it, might be missing a button, might have a stain, you know. People bring that stuff to this thing, and they had tons of clothing that they're never gonna get rid of. Everything that we ship in clothing is new. It's wrapped, it's new pants, new shirts, socks, underwear, everything is brand new. When we come in and we set that up, people will take that, but they won't take the used stuff. And the food, and you know, that's a wonderful thing when they bring all that food, but it's just a disaster because they have to sort it out and figure out what they got. With us, you've got a food box that has everything in it that you need for a week. You need another one, we'll give you another one. There's enough that we can do that. Those trucks will have, each truck that we send out has 300 food boxes on the first truck. So the food is one of the major components that people use. Even now that the tornadoes are over in Kentucky, we are still sending food boxes because we're still feeding people, because if I can feed people for the next month or two, they don't have to go to the store and buy it, they can take that money, put it back in to get it back in their homes. So that's a big plus that we're able to do. And that's a good point.
The bottled water was awesome too, for all the workers that were coming and cleaning supplies. Everything was labeled so neatly. That was awesome.
Our boxes have a label on every box. Every box is identical. Every personal care is identical. So all you have to do is get a food box, personal care box, cleaning everything is labeled and labeled and to the individual. The big thing is to sit down with that individual and find out what's happened to them, what you can do to help that family, whether you pray with them, talk to them, listen to them. You know, most people they're just in awe when you say, you know, you find out they don't have insurance. Well, if I could help you with one major appliance, what would that be? I'll write that on the sheet. If I could help you with furniture, what would it be? And I write that down. Give that to our elders look at it, and decide what we're gonna do. There's different ways, different churches do different things. I like to give people the option of what they want. Some churches just say, we're just gonna give everybody a refrigerator or a washer and dryer and be done with it. So they order all washers and dryers, give everybody a washer and dryer that lost one. But not everybody had a washer and dryer. And under our policy, we don't give out stuff they don't have, so we like to give choices. Anybody else have a question?
Dennis, we've been impressed with the speed that you hear about a disaster, and it seems like just in hours you're across the country. So you're staged with these 53-foot semis ready to go, and the driver gets a call, stops what he's doing. Tell us about how fast you can get there.
Generally, whenever a disaster happens, we like to get on site and set up with the truck there within 24 hours. Sometimes it's a little quicker, sometimes it's a little longer, depending on where it's at. There's 5 of me, you saw that. Not all of them are me, but there's 5 of us. And each one of us is responsible for an area. So if you guys had a tornado here, I would like to think that somebody here will call me and tell me, but when you have a tornado, you're in shock. That's not something to think about. I've got churches that I've called, that didn't even think about calling you. We support you, you know, and it's like, yeah, but I need to be there. I need to be at your church. I need to be talking. You can't hear me? But we need to be there. We need to be on site. We need to be set up, and we need to be ready to help people in a very short time. The quicker you get set up, the quicker you become a distribution center where you can help your community, makes all the difference in the world. If you get there 2 or 3 days late and you find out and you're 3 days into this, people are already past this stage that we're helping. They're already been through the cleanup procedures. We got to get on site quick. In saying that, one thing that I really stress for you all to do is make a plan so that you know that when you have a disaster, a flood, a tornado, whatever it is, you have designated people that are going to do what they need to do. Somebody needs to call me because, I might be out mowing the yard or I might be doing something not get it, but I've got my phone with me 24/7. So I monitor the weather 24/7. I've got all kinds of apps that send me disaster notifications, tornado, there's a windstorm, whatever it is, I know about it generally.
As I watch the evolution over time of different disasters, how the churches of Christ have the churches of Christ have dealt with these disasters, it seems like we're getting better and better at being more organized and thinking through the problems. I've got a friend of mine that's not of our faith, but a different religious group, and he counts what he does, but in reality, what his group is doing is not near as much. They spend a lot more on telling people what they're doing than doing it. Right. The problem for us, it seems to be, a lot of our own church body around the country doesn't even, much less people out there in the world generally, doesn't know we're doing it. I think one of the problems that unfortunately the Lord's church has is we don't count our own successes, the things that we've done right. And you're being here today reminds us of how important it is to know about some of these things and understand some of this, understand this process. I just wanted to thank you, not really a question exactly, but I think there are a lot of churches that need to know you exist, that don't know you exist. I really wish we had some way of nationwide having all the churches of Christ know if there's a disaster, here's how this works, here's what's been going on, thinking about what happened over time. Because I've got friends that are from bigger religious groups that are they're doing a lot of stuff, but when I compare what they've done, I think we, for our size, I don't mean here locally, I mean just nationwide, are doing a whole lot better with what we're doing than they are. But they're, look what we're doing, look what we're doing. But I think that's one of the things the church needs to get better at. I don't mean being arrogant about it, but in a servant manner, servant-led way, like the Lord gave example to let people know. Anyway, I don't know how to get that resolved, but I think it ought to be.
Well, one thing.
You can use it.
One thing he was talking about, we ought to be letting people know what we're doing. I think that's what you were getting across. But we don't. Again, we don't advertise. It's not about. I'm kind of the opposite of that. I'm not out here to impress people. I'm out here to help people. And God knows we're doing our job by what we're doing. It's like, I don't know how to say this other than just say it. News media will come in whenever I show up. I don't want to talk to them. I won't talk to them. You guys can talk to them, but I'm not going to talk to them. Because every time I talk to them, they turn something around that I've said that not what I said, it just bothers me. But I'm not trying to impress other people on what we're doing. I'm trying to help people and letting you help your neighbor. And it's about this church here, not about me. It's about the church here helping your community. And one good example of Van Buren, I don't know if anybody knows where Van Buren, Missouri is at. You do. Van Buren is just a very small place in the road. I mean, it's not very big at all, but they're very well known because they're on Current River, and Current River is a wonderful river to float, and I floated all the time. Grew up down there. But there's a little church there, has 9 members. That's it, 9 members. That town, I don't know what year it was, it flooded, the whole town. They've never had a flood like that. I went down, and I'd even spoke at the church prior to this, but they didn't think about calling me. But I went down and I said, here's what we're going to do. They just freaked out. They said, we can't take a truck. There's only 9 of us. We can't do this. Yeah, you can. Well, the church in up Winona was just up the road 20 minutes. They came in and helped them. But they did that. They helped people and they gave out supplies. News media came in, they covered all that. They couldn't believe that these 9 members were doing what they were doing, and they did not know who we were. Didn't want them to know, really. But that church helped that whole community with furniture and appliances to help them rebuild, and they rebuilt. And people today still don't understand how those 9 members did what they did. But that church has grown from that experience because they knew that that church reached out, and it was all about that church. It wasn't about us. It's about the church helping people. Any other questions? You got a comment?
My children live in Coffeyville, Kansas. My daughter and family live in Coffeyville, Kansas. They had a flood several years ago. I'll tell you, I was so impressed when the disaster relief were there in no time with all their trucks, told them how to do it, what to set up. And I tell you what, if it would have been dead, the community probably wouldn't have made it because they had no water, they couldn't use, you know.
That's another issue. The water system gets contaminated.
Yep.
You know, we bring in semi-truckloads of water. I can make a phone call, I might have a 63-foot semi with just water on it to you. So that's
But they did it when they needed something. They just called, you all showed up. So thank you.
I'll say one other thing and I'll be quiet. One thing that I did not tell you is we have other organizations that work with disaster relief that follow behind us, and they're available 24/7 just like us. And it's the DRT team. It's a disaster relief team out of Dayton, Ohio. You'll see them. You'll also see another one called Disaster Assistance. These are all Church of Christ organizations. The disaster assistance will come in. He has a mobile kitchen, and he'll set up on your parking lot, and he'll feed people for you. So there's a lot of stuff that follow behind this now today than what we used to have. Used to, it was just us. Now we have these other groups. Different, I call it the DRT team from Dayton. They're very organized, but there's churches that have disaster relief teams also. The one down in Louisiana, White's Ferry Road, has a group that comes out and helps. So there's a lot of avenues to look at when you have a disaster, but you need to be prepared. So you need to get a plan in place and be ready, because when it happens, you have a very short window to get this stuff in here and get it set up and become a distribution center and really help your community. Thank you. And I'll be here after church if anybody wants to talk or ask questions.
Dennis, we thank you very much for your time this morning. The information is very valuable to us. And you pointed out some areas that we need to get a handle on and be prepared for. Class time is up now. We're going to be a little short on our visitation between class and our service, but we thank you very much for that. Please pick up the brochures that are back there, and if you do have questions, Dennis will be around. So thank you very much, and class is over.